Well, we're back. Dr. Farber successfully has logged in, and we will proceed with his keynote address after I introduce him. Dr. Farber is a PhD, a Doctor of Science academician, TRIZ master, and a whole bunch of other things. In addition to his 23 diplomas in science and technology, he's gotten a strong education and diplomas in areas of psychology and pedagogy, including distance education technologies. Dr. Farber has offered more than 1,000 inventions, books, publications, and presentations all over the world. He has pioneered inventions are based on TRIZ, including self-adjusted and self-organized dynamical systems in many areas of bioengineering and biotechnology. For his complete bio, refer back to the AI TRIZCon page at our website, and you can get all the details there, including his web addresses and stuff and so on. So, Dr. Farber, without further ado, we're going to share screen with you and start this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. My presentation is TRIZ in medicine. Here we represent few corporations, and our philosophy, we have been using TRIZ for many years, mathematical modeling and modern technologies. And Noigel is our company. When you read it backward, it would be Legion. It's the only company which philosophy is TRIZ in pharmacology, only in pharmacology and biotechnologies. Our method is classical TRIZ, multiple synergism, mathematical modeling, and modern science design, and technology in different fields, plus bionics. Sometimes we name it biomimics. And at the beginning, acknowledgement, the fundamental idea of our research, a result of many years discussing of TRIZ application with Genrikh Altshuller. When I started this many years ago, I discussed with him basic. We discussed opportunity that TRIZ can make a lot of new, very useful invention in medical field. At that time, I was studying in a 9 postgraduate school, and I came to Genrikh Altshuler's request to make priority because it was difficult. And he approved the priority #1 was medical field because I work in different fields in this time. So in this case, medicine is important area related to human and animal health, but TRIZ is rarely used in such important area. We have accumulated extensive experience in various fields of medicine and related fields, some of which are conditionally combined into 8 groups. This is, I like different cartoon. Okay, when we started, we want to have any ideas over the TRIZ in medicine. And group #1, first of all, it's like outline of our research. Prosthetic and orthotics, which included different prosthetics, upper, lower limbs, extremities, and orthopedics. This outline gives us general vision of our project in different fields, and after that we go more specifically. Vibrobiomechanics group 2. We created a system for prevention and treatment of post-stroke, post-infarction patients, imitation of walking and running on Earth and in space, and management of vehicles and airplanes in the people with disabilities and for military, movement control of deaf and blind people, the second group. All of them related to medicine. Group 3, it was treatment of patient with electrical muscle stimulation. Treatment of patient with electrical muscle stimulation and prevention of treatment of scoliosis. Okay. This is subdivision very conditional. Group 4, magnetic fluid in medicine. We created system of different devices and controllers for biomechanical simulators, for prosthetic with automatic adjustment to the pace of walking. The first in the world that was this magnetic liquid. Group 5. This was repurposing generic and unique medical applications. You will see, I will not read all this stuff. You will see this in our presentation more specifically. Group 6, new generation of drugs and therapies. This is, according to TRIZ classification, we consider this project is level 5, because it's a new class of medical drugs in different fields. I'll show some example of this in presentation. Group 7, we have been working in different diagnostic methods. I'll show some of them, for instance, BCMM, blood cell morphometric method. Group 8, mathematical modeling. I mean, not only silicon modeling, but we use extensive mathematical modeling and creation of system with AI. So I start from the beginning. At the beginning, you have chance to go back or not in this? Only forward in this application. Okay. Anyway, oh, I have this option. I got it. Why food? So it's historically, my dad, he is Marine officer like Green Beret. He was in Kamchatka. He invented a new kind of machine gun and modification of Goryunov gun. And this time, approximately, when he tested in Kamchatka, he got a magazine. In the front was picture of some young engineer, like military engineer. He was Michael Kalashnikov. He contacted him, and they exchanged information, they met. And after that, my dad decided to be inventor. And the same way, when he found in their library this magazine where was published the first article of Genrich Altshuller, and contacted him. And he had passion, he collected everything related to inventions, about Da Vinci as well. And when to my birthday, I got present all this, his books, Da Vinci, etc. The facts to that for me, that Da Vinci said that the human foot is masterpiece of engineering and a work of art. For me, it was very interesting this, because I thought that masterpiece was Gioconda, for instance, or Mona Lisa, right, in this case. So I was very interested in this field. As a result, I get in different postgraduate schools, and one of them was Central Research Institute of Prosthetics and Orthotics. To my research, we made some biomechanical adjustment, because wherever we have a TRIZ, we have to apply for bionic system. For instance, ideality. We can use different means of movement except of leg for person, etc. So we make some adjustment for creating new kind of prosthetics. And in addition, I came to Genrich with idea to, at the time it was a new approach, to came with a micro to macro level approach. Why it was important? Because that days when we created new kind of prosthetics, not was easy to go to micro level, but I had a book, Artabalevsky, 6-volume books, and it was difficult to use because all these devices were macro level. So I created approach, macro level combinations. And for instance, to some of these macro level devices, I could go through, for instance, physical effects, for instance, pointing effect. So after that, I made presentation of this, and I used a lot of this principle of MNP3 of least action. So because in nature, most important is saving energy. So when we created our devices, I always remember this least action principle on MNP3. Next, let me start with artificial food. Artificial food, for instance, this, right? In this case, we can't use any wheels of this. We need to make it symmetrical with intact leg. But from another side, very difficult to compete with nature. And we have a lot of limitation. It's impossible to create exactly the same leg. So using our means of and knowledge of biomechanics technology, we're supposed to create something which is compatible with intact leg. So this was the first. When I started research to create a new food, first of all, I analyzed process of amputation. I was very surprised that about 82% amputation were made by neuropathy and vascular conditions. Not cancer, not trauma, not these accidents, this one, 82%. According to TRIZ, you're supposed to think not only how to create a new device, for instance, artificial food, what they have, but you have to think about entire picture. So, for instance, you work artificial food, you're supposed to think about knee, even your topic is, your project is artificial food. And knee connected to hip joint. And this is mechanical prosthesis. After that, we have prosthetics with electrical control. And we have orthotics. When you go to super system, we have artificial limbs in other artificial systems. And we go to super system, it's super system level A. From another side, if you think about how to avoid make amputation in many cases, you have to think about another branch of this diagram, about drugs. So in parallel with this, and I asked Genrich Altshuller about the idea that even though our institute was a central institute in the country, which doing with prosthetics, we are starting to make research in medical drugs. Later, you'll see some example of this, because only in combination this and this, you can accomplish better effect. Okay. For instance, in future, in my presentation, we'll see like we created some means of, let's say, ointment, which help to save people diabetic food instead of make amputation. So we have this our road map. If we have more times, I will go over through this time. But we created road map, man, artificial organs, microbiome, environment. And this, you will see many of these examples, they combined it together. And I split this big field in different pieces and found different way how to work in these fields. I give some example. If you remember at the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that we use classical TRIZ, basically classical. With, so we don't invent a lot of new in TRIZ. It was not our goal. TRIZ, from my point, is the best philosophy of thinking, which helps to create project in any field. And if you look at our some examples, so to avoid question for other presentation we have today, I will make some examples how we use TRIZ in our field. And after that, our presentation, this and together with Dr. Ilya Klein and Dr. Artur Martinov, we make today, we concentrate on implementation of this idea, not on what is behind, because behind we use everything what you know. For instance, ideality, S-curve analysis, function analysis, cause and effect, trimming we use a lot, etc. Or we study trends of engineering system evolution. That's very important. Sometimes we use MPV, main parameter value, you know this. So in biomechanical, it's a little bit different compared to regular innovation roadmap, because we also suppose this key thing I make it think, biomechanical analysis. Why? Because in order to compete with nature, creating some specific devices, you have to know how nature did it. And we use intensively in pestogram and EMG and podogram, all this stuff, right? Plus we have our special method of this. We use also anticipatory failure determination, very helpful, especially when you work with very complicated Lagrangian equations and very difficult systems, so adjustable. So we use this method, and I had for postgraduate students under my supervision, I made dissertation of this, where I make some AFD for them, for patients. And we found some very important question how to optimize viscoelasticity element in prosthetics. And definitely we study this all, not only patent form, but all what is possible from literature. And definitely we spoke with patients, because wherever is written, you can, all publication did not reflect all needs of patients. So in addition with this, we create a special way of, it's like different kind of, they put different marks for needs for different activities. And based on this, we get more specifically understanding of the question. Plus, definitely we have expert analysis. So we combine the best expert in the world to combining to get answer what we're doing here. We exchange information. In future, maybe I'll show in this presentation, we created the first in the world AI, artificial intelligence problem expert system, which is based on, it was written on Lisp, sorry, the language. And it helped us to optimize all parameters of prosthetic and orthotics. And after that, I use the shell of this AI for my education project we will talk about tomorrow. What problem-solving method we use? Definitely we use always principle resolving contradiction, function-oriented search, standard inventive solutions. We use ARIZ, especially like ARIZ, I believe 78, where you had, it's not necessarily included in latest version. If you remember, it was related to bionics. Nice example of getting knowledge about dinosaur teeth, etc. We use bionics a lot. We use a database of scientific effect, macro level algorithm. So we have a way how to get to macro level based, let's say we build a WebPol, we made equation, and from this it shows us how to get to macro level solution. For instance, SU field analysis, we get some, let me say how to name, formula. And from this formula, you're supposed to get physical effect, for instance. But for create real prosthetic and orthotics is not enough. You have to create some specific unit which is durable and can be produced. So, and we have this bridge between this and this part. To make this, I study special object like theory of rational mechanism and study robotics, etc. And finally, we have this mechanism, very, very powerful. And definitely trends in generic system evolution. This continuation. Concept substantiation. We study when you finish our devices, we always make the biomechanical analysis. What is included? In biomechanical analysis, we study ground reactions, EMG, knee angle, hip angle, angle. We use even gyroscopes, trunk angles. We study podograms. All means what we had for this. And we study how idea work using FAA, failure anticipation analysis, unit synergy. After that, we always think about IP potential evaluation and social impact of justification of this. Implementation. For implementation, we use IP protection. To be strong in this, I graduated from four patent institutes to get more knowledge of this. Definitely, we use technical documentation because we use with professional engineering company work together. We produce experimental series in our plant, and we have many countries were involved. For instance, now Lithuania, and we check, use special device. We use the durability, because all devices can be nice, but in, let's say, 100,000 cycles does not work. So we use special way to study durability. We study these devices on patients always. And based on this result, we made correction to technical documentation. We make, again, remember in the entrance, we had biomechanical research, and exit, we have another biomechanical research. And all this stuff, when we finish, we prepare this for mass production. So in this pretty much similar roadmap goes to all our projects. So making this introduction, I avoid questions what we did in specific problem. For instance, if I return to our main topic is artificial food design, I study different side of this project. From one side, it's supposed to be strong, but not some of them very strong, but very heavy. If you make it light, it's not durable enough. So you have to avoid a lot of contradiction. And we contacted this patient and found optimal way based on cause-effect chain analysis. We found a way to how to create optimum construction which satisfy these needs. We use, you can recognize this classical TRIZ tools, system operator. We use it always. It shows you like screen vision. You see, go from subsystem, you go to super system. You can go to past, what it was before. Before, it was not anthropomorphic food at all. And you look in future, how this system according trend of trees moving in future. Plus, what we did, we added here one more column to classical. Classical goes like this, system operator. Since we work with patient, for us is a new column we here added ideal final result. Ideal final result not only to create new devices here. For instance, what about avoiding amputation? You remember we work with two fields. Second field is related to different medical drugs. Or what about regeneration, which is future with this. Okay, it helps you to avoid imputation. The best food when we don't have, when we have natural food, not necessarily prosthetics. Okay, and not to go in these all details, right? When we study food, I just be more specific. This we increase durability. Very important was increasing elasticity. Why elasticity is very important? For instance, everybody use car. In a car, they solve shock absorbing for the vehicle. For instance, you have big truck. You have one parameter viscosity, elasticity of shock absorbing. For smaller, it's different. But let's say you want to buy a shoes, right? When you go to store, they only ask what is your size, what is size of your shoes. For instance, some person he has size 11, and size 11 has another person who weight 300 pounds. So they don't take consideration this elasticity, but elasticity is very important, the viscosity, because people every day they can get up to 10,000 different strike when you in heel of with pavement, and these strikes destroy your body system, your skeleton. So that's why it was not easy question, and we saw a lot of different equation to solve it and use different approach. And ideality for us was to make prosthetics an intact leg with minimum cost and very symmetrical. In addition, we found one more effect, if you remember. I will return to this in my presentation about Gennady Golovchenko, if you remember. When he studied nature, I will show this slide, I return this, just like you will see this. It gives us great idea. And system operator, which I mentioned. Now, based on this, we analyze all feet, artificial feet we had in the market. And we study trends of system. Evolution is actually getting Saulage, but it's some adjustment from different. And we created tactics and strategy for food design. So we split it for different sub-problem. For instance, we have to rationalize mass, inertia parameter. Some people think that very easy food is a great food and heavy is not great. From another side, if I ask you to throw a stone, you can throw very far, very light stone, because in mechanics, you have to know also mass inertia parameter distribution. So that's why experienced engineering, they put extra load in prosthetics to make it mass inertia optimized. Definitely you have to think about strength optimization, elastic element asset, and system operators. Based on S-curve, our strategy, find elastic element for energy recuperation, external source of energy, we also use it with feedback system, and foresee new ways to super system. What is feedback? I will just give example. When you see graph, you will see this. We take our medical doctor and make anesthesia to his leg. And after that, we measure by mechanics of gait, how she walking. And we find out that she very sport-oriented person. She had 2 legs, everything. But her walk pattern was similar, like he walk with below knee amputation. Why? Because when you have anesthesia and you don't have feedback, you walk not confident way, and all parameters of gait, they have impact of this. And if you don't see this experiment, you see just graph, you can think this is patient with below knee amputation. From here, you get a hint. You're supposed to make a system with feedbacks. And we did it. We created this kind of system. And patient with a different level of amputation, they tremendously improve their work. You also see. So this is, let me mention, I will just tell that a lot of this, what is more specifically, right, how we did it. And I made analogy with the industry, car industry, how they build different suspensions and tires, because their idea also shock absorbing. And they have special mathematical models, special apparatus we use partly in our research. This continuation is not enough room, Mila. Okay. As a result, we make conclusion the prosthetics should be chosen similar to rheological problem driver car road. We study a lot of rheology, different body like Maxwell, Kelvin, Foyt. All this combination of elements help you to imitate behavior of different shock absorber. And this analogy, this I just mentioned, this is big person and small, you know, from, I believe, this movie, Twins, right? And they have the same size pretend foot, but they have different mass. According to this idea, shock absorbing has different, you see this Kelvin, Foyt, all these elements from rheology, they go in equations. And similar like here, two different people, they have the same size, but ground reaction tremendously different. There is a book, Strike like a Factor of Ecology. It showed that our body sometimes has getting strike like 3G, like a person in a pilot an airplane, huge acceleration. And we don't think about this, especially when you're running on the pavement, on the concrete pavement. So for this, we created difficult mathematical modeling and equation of this, rheological. And based on this, we implemented different prosthetics. And we study vertical compound of ground reactions. Okay. And this is, you see the difference between them, right? This. And if you see how it change ground reaction when you write by pavement and soft, let's concrete pavement, and soft pavement, ground reaction much smaller, much smaller. That's why in the United States we have so many chiropractors, right? Probably one of the reasons. And it was not enough. We created new method of measure accelegrams. So in pestogram, what is pestogram? You know, to get acceleration, what is acceleration? A second derivative of replacement. But according to our research, it shows if you study the third derivative of it, not the second, the third. So this is actually derivative of acceleration. And imagine this is a body. Okay, this is somebody just model stick diagram of body, and you have strike. It goes through our bone system. It goes through all bone system, and here we have a sensor, and we measure the third derivative of replacement, and we found that different people with different condition of bone system, they ability for shock absorbing very different. And this shows, because let's imagine this is strike to the leg, this is enter, and this is result of this force exit. And through our body goes big system. It's our work we study with special with Dr. Yefimov together. We study these prestograms. And in addition, as I mentioned before, it was very important to find not easy way for food, but also you have to think about prosthetic. For instance, this is below knee prosthetics, right? BK, and we create special medical model. It's published in VA magazine, Journal of Rehabilitation, and we found way how to improve even not nicely done prosthetics with nice placing extra load. And these nomograms help you to help. So we optimize symmetry of walking in this case. For this, we created a lot of different devices to prove our concept, like static devices and dynamic when load we making these impulses. We with one of my colleagues who is #1 now, we created a company, the company name Orthocosmos. And this is the biggest company right now in SNG. This is our new prosthetics together. This is myself. This is my colleague. Okay. After that, we use function-oriented search for artificial food, weight, and strength. And for this, we use analogy and tools for anthropomorphic robot, anthropomorphic like person. And we study different stress distribution because our artificial food is not being like in strength of material, not simple. It has very complicated shape. And to be sure about strength, we use method of finite element, or we use photosensitivity method, etc., photoelasticity method, etc. And we use special fatigue devices. We created this, get patented. As a result, all this help us is fragment of this. Continuation. How we did? We created based of, if you know this airplane company MiG, which create military. I invited few scientists for this company, and they started working with us under our supervision for using these elements for irregular shapes. Why irregular shapes? Because airplane irregular shapes. And for instance, they use a lot of method of finite elements. And we apply the same approach for all our research. No research without more mathematical modeling of finite element method. Okay, that's about it. So we use TRIZ. This will show physical contradiction. They have to have simultaneously two different values. We separate it in a space and separation between components, everything on TRIZ. Okay, so according to this, you're supposed to have elastic element with different parameters at the same time. I'll show how we solve this problem a little bit later. Okay, I mentioned we use photoelasticity when you create it from photosensitive material, food, loaded, and you put polarized light, and you see isoclines. This isoclines. Based on this isoclines, you can find out strengths in any part of this, or with together with our colleague from MiG Corporation, we use method of finite elements and use mathematical model to prove this concept and figure out how to, because we fight for grams. Okay, we find how to make it strong enough and not heavy. Optimization. I mentioned that we use for cycling research. For cycling research, we create special devices. And these devices, it's like, imagine, they work day and night to make millions of cycles with this. You see, it's like creating different graph of this. And you see how our system works in these different conditions. These devices were created by, together with Rocket Space Corporation Energy, the biggest in the country who produced spaceships in this case, and they have entire. If you have picture on this, I'm not sure, and they have entire huge stands where each devices we check on cycling and fatigue. Everything what they're talking about, we get patents. As a result, instead of what we had in the market, we study biomechanics. It's also a very interesting phenomenon of our food. Not everybody knows about. It works like gears in a car. In one position, you have one axis rotation when you start working from heel to toe. When you move through toe, you have different axes of movement. It saves you energy. So these all patents, these all food were produced, and we got patents for them based on this idea. And we use elastic elements here for recuperation of energy. And we use different physical effects. For instance, in this case, I use effect of memory, because for different arch, if you're talking about arch supposed to be not the same. Nature is very smart. For different pace of gait, arch changes. It's not the same. If you measure this arch, it's different. So in our device, the faster you go, the special device generated electricity, and it make this element, thermal elements, changes temperature, and according effect of memory form, it change arch. So this was orthotic devices with changeable arch for people who need help with this, some of our patients. Okay, this about it. This I mentioned before. One of our doctor, she got injection. Okay, anesthetic here, right? He does not feel here leg after this, and we compare reactions. Okay, if you compare the prosthetic leg and this intact leg, you see graphs very different. And here graph of walking was very similar to prosthetics leg. That's why feedback is very important in nature. Based on this, we created tens of, in all our devices, we put for feedback, we use special samari cobalt magnetic vibrator. And when person touch particular part of sole or particular part of his shoes pavement, right? He get a signal and he confident where his leg is. He feel it because this is feedback. And we use in different devices here. This one is socket, right? You know this for stump. Okay. Now, when we started this, remember famous Altshuller always told this classical example about Churlionis rustle of forest. And forest, okay, this is trees, and they like arc, right? Arf, and wind playing like a hand on these strings, which are trees, right? And we come to fall. In autumn, you go to the forest with pine tree. You see specific sound because this, according to Golovchenko, and the sound systems and the nature is so smart. She used everything, even this sound. And he made experiment. I just reminded, very well known for TRIZ people fact, and the example of Genrikh Saulich, Schuller. And what he did, he took pine needles, right, to study this needle thrust. And he put 2 glasses, for instance, and one glass he put branch with this pine needles without wind, and the second he put a fan. And when it becomes imitation of wind, it worked like pump for fire people, for fire fighter. Remember, they had a this kind of pump. So in this particular case, capillarity get more liquid in this case. So nature use everything because pine tree is very, very tall. You call Laplace formula, how you can get this water juice to top of this tree. So this pine tree leaves like a pump, they help to do this. So I always remember it's absolutely beautiful example comparison to Churlionis. And we study, our idea was our food is not just piece of material. It's if you study on the surface of this, we have Vater-Pacinian body. See, Vater-Pacinian. We study this Vater-Pacinian vibrio receptors. And according to this analogy with Golovchenko, nature is supposed to use these Vater-Pacinian bodies. And we studied, it was special research we made together with Dr. Mirkin, Institute Mashinovедения. And we studied this different and compare how our graph of gait relate to specific zone of contact our food with pavement. As a result, we created, we reversed this program. So we put these devices, summary cobalt devices, in our shoes, right? And connected with computers. See, shoes inside of shoes. And if you change program of commutating between these devices, make forces, you make impression of person that he is walking, even he is sitting. Because this is similar system. This is we have even matrix over there. So we put signals here, commutating with specific pace. You can change pace. And we use this device for rehabilitation of people post-stroke people in government clinics, because from one side they're supposed to move, but after stroke they cannot move. So when you put them shoe, they said, and they were like horizontal in the bed, they said we can't walk so fast, a little bit slow. They had impression of movement. And this was this smart shoes. We use it, we produce these shoes, right? And more specifically, we study EMG, all this stuff, and we use in many different fields. For instance, we use it even idea of this in pilot cabin of aircraft, because in this particular case, our skin is the biggest organ in the body, and we compare how a person can pretend on the airport, or how to say, on a while landing this aircraft, it was huge circle written, right? And we have different group of these pilots, and one group of pilots use vision to land this aircraft, and the second use this vibrotactile our devices. So accuracy to land this airplane was much higher without vision, because the system people do not use today too much Vater-Pacinian. They use only in few cases, which you know. Okay, and this about it, how we use it for after stroke. And we study pressure distribution and ground reaction with this. Study biomechanical of gas. And this is special topic, Vater-Pacinian body. This is a joke. We haven't yet found what causing the ringing in your ears, but you were able to set them to vibrate. About. Okay. And as I mentioned, this is about landing accuracy. And we use it in program Soyuz Apollo. Because in space, when you don't work, you're losing your ability. So we give them these devices, And every time they imitate walking, even though they were in space, right? In this case. And we measure all these parameters. Next, we apply this for patients, usually blind and deaf. We have been working with also blind, deaf, and mute people, right, in this. How they participate in competition? Usually person who can see, right? They lead them, they take their hand, and they only this way they can run, because otherwise it's around the stadium. What we did, we created devices, we put an armpit over there like vibrator, and this is like remote control had a trainer, he was sitting, and everybody has different frequency. Let's say we have 12 people running around, or some amount of people, let's say one person. And he controlling, when it's vibrate left side, he turning left. Right part, he turning right. And we gave these people on an international competition, and all stadium was very puzzled, because all team under our preparation, they work without any help, without anybody. Okay, it was published in many magazines in this case, and they use it right now. So my point is, if you use nature approach, all this simulation of bionics or mimicking, they say, and we use a lot of different ideas, it's very helpful in medicine. Now, the second part, when I finished, my goal was to create artificial foot, but foot was connected to leg. A leg has knee. And I use the same idea when I analyze artificial knee units. I separated by two phases: swing phase when you stand on the pavement, and stand phase when you swing your. Swing phase when you swing your face, and when you stand phase when you contact your ground. And I studied different idea what we have here. If we had more time, I will tell you about more of these devices, but more this approach. But we found a lot of different idea with nature implement on this simple, if you don't go in depth, act of gait or movement. Okay. And this is, I show some examples. So we created protecting orthotics, which work for heel strike phase. They recuperated energy, and 2O phase also. And we even created the first in the world rheomagnetic liquid prosthetics. I'll show how it works. Again, we apply system operator here. I'll not go in depth. If you have specifically, so I can tell about it. But when we created this, plus we classical, plus we added one more column, ideal final result. Again, always we think about Evonik computation. This is a key thing why we start working with medical drugs. And we use Ishikawa diagrams. We very often use Ishikawa diagrams for about knee. For each our project, we use behind the scene this classical instrument for creating the devices. Now we went from different design to super system. We separated is mechanical unit, dissipative units, all of them. Okay. And I skip it. We created functional analysis for most typical key units. So our functional analysis is different than classical that we use today, because this is bionics. If you show a person who in different field, they will be a little bit puzzled why use this and that. But we have a lot of tasks to do in one device. That's why we modify functional analysis, and when we use this, always functional analysis when we use in bioengineering. And for similar we have for medical drugs. For instance, most popular for our polycentric mechanism, which produced in Germany, is 4-bar knee units. Okay, it has different modification with friction, pneumatic, hydraulic, magnetic. Okay, right now they started to use this one also. And what we did, we used this device was created in, I believe, in 18th century, the first one. And one of the company who number one was in this time, right now, Otto Bock in Germany. And we created our approach. We analyze this stuff from point of view of mathematical modeling. It's key thing of all our projects use mathematical modeling. I don't believe that we can create any project without mathematics, any projects. In medical drugs, we have special mathematical models which help you to understand billions of different combinations. Impossible to do this. Otherwise, you'll not get parameters right. And we use biomechanical research always. Without this, just looking on pattern does not work. And we study functions, different functions. We use our approach, transition from micro to macro level. And we use theory which nobody in the world used in TRIZ, theory of fractional mechanism. It was created by a friend of mine, and he was a professor. First of all, he was much older, but we became a friend, Leonid Nikolaevich. This very important. I can tell about a lot about this picture, but we don't have too much time. I just show some results of this. So when I study units on the market at that time, we have few kind. This one axis, cheap, not durable, but since X was behind the Mikulicz line, in order to maintain gate, people supposed to make this leg shorter. If you make it shorter, all of them, without exception, they have prosthetic scoliosis. Shorter, why? Because you have to swing your leg above the pavement, right? And since this is just circle and X is behind, you definitely will not do this. So they make your leg easy, shorter, but all people have trouble. Not only they lost leg, they also, after that, they inherited scoliosis. In other words, you lock it, it's durable, but gait absolutely not natural, right? It's like gait of pirate from movie Richardson. And that's why another construction, they use one axis units, but in order to make balancing, they put load inside. You see load. Load is pretty heavy. So one side, we want to make this prosthetic easy, not heavy. For another, put a load inside. This is Otto modification made on NPO energy. This is 4-bar units. This is smarter, less durable, and give you a trajectory of 3rd degree, and you can easily move this, but not durable. Okay, when I study some example based on trend of system evolution, you see, when you make it knee joint behind, your leg goes not natural way, and person not able to go, she has scoliosis of this one, scoliosis. So we studied swing phase, created equation, and found how to move it to make this clearance good enough to make your movement of leg when it has the same length. And we study, we had special method of study center of mass of person. Let's say, look at this. It's about, it's related about your belly point, right? This. If you measure the in frontal plane, it looks like butterfly for normal. This normal dash line. But when you look on this from point of view of prosthetics, when you study it in prosthetic person, his gait absolutely not symmetrical, because here he stand on his leg to make it easy to move another leg. And this is not only not nice, but also not healthy, because you saw the picture of scoliosis before. So we study link pendulum, spatial equation, we study this. We use a functional system of diagram, different mechanisms we use today. I just go through a little bit faster. We study cause-effect chain analysis for artificial knee. One difficult word is heavy, and low durability in this way, and back pain. All of them have back pain because of scoliosis, etc. Prosthetic leg is shorter, not comfortable to work. And we use functional-oriented search for artificial knee, this fragment of this. We identify problems here, what we have. We formulate requirement. We don't like idea the function of moving extra load up to 1 kilogram connected to translation movement mechanism without extra load. So you wanna, I made a goal for myself to create a mechanism which try to combine the best of all mechanisms we had so far. And I use analogy from space industry, where people also fighting for extra grams to make it not heavy. For instance, classical example, instead of extra load for stability, a spaceship. Remember this case with Henry Solich described? Scientists put, I believe it's Venera 6, I'm not sure which one number, put important measurement equipment. Remember the story, right? I just remind, when everything was done, and one scientist came and said, I need my 8-kilogram equipment also be put in this spaceship. They said, well, you don't have even 1 gram extra. And one of engineer, he said, let's throw away this load for stabilization. Instead of this load, we put our measurement equipment. And by this, instead of using in translation mechanism, provides functionality of a system by kinematics without extra load. Let's see how it works. So I skip a little bit this one to make it bigger, faster. And this example of this, and you can read this in Altshuller book, Fine Idea about this, right? When they put it instead of load, this equipment. So when I analyze this also stance phase. It's very important to study stability when person standing this stance phase. I study initial models of gait. We create a mathematical model. Why we create mathematical model? Because for your iron, you can easily find energy consumption, right? Electricity. But how you can find energy consumption for person? He does not have any devices. So one of the best way you can use, not the best way, it's not accurate when you use carbon dioxide, but the best way is when you create mathematical model. Let me see this. This is part of this differential equation. After that, you solve this equation, and you can tell about energy, this energy and this position of knee. So position of energy is very sensitive to position of knee. And since person who lost their legs, they already lost not only legs itself, he lost source of movement, because muscle source of movement. He don't have enough muscle in this case. And second leg, which is saved, not amputated, it's overloaded. And vessels of this person not good, because he got amputation based on vascular problem. So our goal to decrease energy cost. And from this equation, I found a way how to decrease energy cost or optimization of this prosthetic devices by position of this knee joint. We use analysis for bar link unit I showed before with pair of fifth class. And this one, if you remember, this 4-link bar mechanism. And this our knee makes very complicated centroid. And this 4-bar mechanism also makes some centroids which help you to move in space. So we created multi-axis knee units, which was easy produced and was connected with different elements, for instance, magnetological or extra source of energy for biomechanical parameters. For instance, these 4-bar links, again, this is typical, we optimized. You see person even can climb on this one. And our solution, we analyze all this from point of view of Leonid Nikolaevich from theory of rational mechanism. We found, what is his idea? All mechanisms we use right now in prosthetics are mechanisms which are not mechanisms. So you see, if you study how system statical defined, you will find that many mechanisms, they statically undefined, negative 2, undefined. This is not mechanism, this is a firm. It's not supposed to move at all. And all mechanisms, people don't know this theory, they produce mass production all over the world. If this is not mechanism, a firm, it's not supposed to, it breaks very fast. What we did, we created this W3, it's our mechanism, which is a real mechanism, okay? Because W equals to 1, it doesn't have extra, does not have extra links. And kinematic, look at this, this is, could be, for instance, in this case, this is pair of 5th class, this could be pair of 3rd class, and pair of 5th class. If you count this, you can get absolutely new approach for creating the devices. And the first devices I created over there, I built myself, right? And this is modification. So even though, what is the problem? If you make axis, it's impossible theoretically even to make it absolutely parallel. They never parallel in typical examples. So in typical, if you have 4 axes, they're not parallel, system's supposed to be broken. In our case, we have here pair, which if it's not parallel, it can change position like this, change position. Self-adjusted to this. I like self-adjusted mechanism. Moreover, if you look over there, I even did even better. This is a sphere inside, right? It's not all self-adjust this, it's also self-adjust this way. So this produced, we got a pattern, the first pattern in the world on this kind of mechanism. After that, we optimize it. This centroid of this mechanism. And clearance, if you see Z, is bigger than the best mechanism in the world. And person can have the same legs. Only one thing we're supposed to solve in this. We have, remember I showed that inside of this, this tube, they put special load up to 1 kilogram. I decided to get the same effect of changing inertial parameters without extra load. How I did it? Just a second. This our, okay, in our leg, moment inertia changes this way. Why? Because when we change position of your foot, you also change parameter of mass inertia. And system very smart, like you swing on swing like with kids. They change parameter, they stand a little bit, change parameter center mass, and swing becomes faster and faster. So nature works the same way. And what I did here optimizes ground reaction. All this, we count this in order to do durable. And keep in mind, you see this pivot here and this tube with foot, it has weight. about like 700 grams. So it is a load without any loads because it's moving. According to our kinematics, it's moving according to this law I showed on previous slide. And we don't need any load because food is a load. As a result, we create the first model in aluminum D16T on our it's from our catalog. It was very successful, this unit. After that, together with the space rocket industry, we modify its titanium right now. This is how it look like. And this is the first real mechanism statically defined, which give all these functions and durable enough. Now we produce it's why the first experiment. Now we produce is for long stamp. When sometimes people cut more leg during amputation because, as I believe this is like not good idea. They cut more because they cannot put a knee joint. Can you believe this? So we created this device where you can make this circulation of knee, right? Not necessarily to cut maximum, right? Not good idea, amputate. And they produce this unit for long stamp as well. Okay, mass production. Okay, I can tell about this, but this is, they produce for different type, for normal stamp, long stamp, for kids a lot. We got the gold medal in medals in world exhibition in Brussels of this. And now they produce many years, 30 years right now in the rocket space industry. And many people, 1,000 people, this is industry. If you know this Korolev, right? This where they created the first rocket. Very good technology of this top level. And this now they produce modular system. It's only one example. We have many inventions we produce right now in this company, right? Okay, mass production for different level amputation for kids. I have been working for kids a lot. And tomorrow's presentation, I'll tell you a bit how we not only help them, but also teach them. And these different units, if you see, you can recognize all this stuff, what I mentioned before. This is Gagarin, if you remember this name. And this is equipment. We have, they have equipment that produce all these devices. People use it for sport as well, different age, different level of amputation. Okay, this for kids. This our unit is all gold medals. Okay. What about this? So different modifications here we have. And this, we made trimming in this. We trimmed extra links. Now it's not firm, this mechanism. We trimmed extra weight using structural synthesis. We trimmed crank mechanism. We trimmed load. We improved trajectory of movement, improved centroid, improved moment inertia without extra weight, improved kinematics and dynamic of gait, improve application of dissipative elements. This I'll tell you a little bit. If I have slide, I show this. Okay, we combine all positive feature of this, and we definitely increase ideality in this case. And for instance, I personally made prosthetics, and this is, if you know, this is #1 goalkeeper in the world. He was nicknamed Black Panther, if you remember, the aviation, right? Unfortunately, many people in sport, they have Vassell's problem later. And this is Pelé. And this is him. I made this prosthetic, and he worked on this knee rocket mechanism with this one. So I have many examples like this. It's just one woman, she became a world champion in marathon above knee amputation. 42 kilometers. We help thousands people with these prosthetics. Okay, where is it? Brussels, we got more gold medal. And I published 4-volume book for this domain. We publish many have. And this theoretical base of building prosthetics and movement control. This book is very popular. It's like a seller right now for this particular case. And in addition, I will tell you about upper limb prosthetics. Our institute is pioneer of the first myoelectric hand in the world was created in our institute. And we work also in myoelectric. Now our institute sold license for United States, for Germany, Japan, etc. Now they produce myoelectric hands, but it goes from central knee prosthetic and prosthetic building, prosthetic design. Let me put this way. This institute, okay, was mine. If you see this Vibra scanner, my device, we have the division where we help kids, special department, bioelectric hands, and all these different surgery, few surgeries over there we help people with this, right? And future regeneration, but this is question mark. So in addition, since we work in this field, if you remember the beginning, I show big diagram, inheritance diagram, where we think about different position. And what I mentioned, a lot of kids, they have scoliosis, right? You know this, because nobody control how they sitting, how they use it, and the spinal cord is bending. When I the first time show saw how they treat it, and they treat it by special braces. Some of them wear these braces 24/7. It's like plastic around of your body. And some of them have special devices where they expand your, stretch your periodical in devices like Inquisition time, which is not nice. And this, when we started this problem, okay, we found a way how to treat it different way. And I just show briefly, this is classical example, how you measure this bending method Coba, the classification of scoliosis. Now look at this. Idea is if you, instead of expanding, you see, you study muscle there, how they connected. And what we found that asymmetry, if you, let's say, put braces, right, what happens? Your muscles becomes even weaker because every time all this, instead of muscle, work your braces around the body. We found when we study EMG of different muscles, synergist and antagonist, we found the muscles asymmetrical. If you take a rope and try to make rotation in horizontal plane, eventually you see it's losing stability and losing shape in frontal plane and sagittal plane. So indirectly, I will just a result. When you put here electrodes from electrodes for electrostimulation, very powerful method. It described partly in the book I mentioned you, 4-volume books. And what happens? And we studied different position of this. And finally, if you make muscle symmetrically, how you know it's symmetrically developed or not symmetric? By EMG. If EMG similar, right? So you make it stronger. If you do exercise, it's difficult to do exercise because if you do exercise for left side, after you're supposed to change position, and your muscles which are strong enough, they also develop. What we did, special courses, we put electrodes for kids on this side where muscles not develop enough. And a result, when you make symmetrical, spinal cord become vertical. Okay, without any surgery. We even help people with a stage when supposed to have surgery, kids. So we implant different kind of pair of electrodes and study this stuff. After that, I created the first my company, own company. We name it, I believe, Invapomosh, and in pediatric department of in Moscow, right? And we help using this method many people. In our team was always we work with doctors, great doctors everywhere. And this how we fight scoliosis. It's one of this example when you study all the contradiction using electrostimulation. So I will not go through this stuff too much. But if you, just a second. And we studied this butterfly, we name it. Displacement of center mass, and after our treatment it becomes much more symmetrical. You see, much more symmetrical. Scoliosis decrease, and that's why important when people, parents, everybody looking for how kids see it, what they do on their tables, right? We created these orthotics made with electrostimulations, right? These are our patents, okay, based on this idea. Also helpful. And in addition, one more example. I met in World Congress, I met a great doctor. His name was Gavril Abramovich Elizarov, if you remember. He, one of inventor. It was two inventor, Kalmbers from Riga. I know him also personally. It's vice director of Latvian Institute of Dermatology and Orthopedy. And Gavril Abramovich Elizarov from Kurgan. He used method of osteosynthesis. And we created this as one of our patents. We created devices which help to increase leg. First of all, its leg is broken. It's better to how to say, to make it to make bones grow faster in this case. And second of all, this is a semi-automatical device which helps you to increase this leg. Sometimes we increase up to 12 centimeters if he was born with different legs. One of example is described in a book of about Valery Brumel, Olympic champion. He got car accident, his leg completely was broken, and Gavril Abramovich Elizarov, using his devices, not this one, he made him to win another Olympic. This great doctor. This direction. Now, few words about our line of projects. Talking about medical. You see, when he came this, I like this cartoon. Enjoy. And he gave a lot of prescriptions here. Or here, enjoy, different examples. So the first part was related to bioengineering. It was just some of example. And now our project related to medical drugs. And we have few lines here. The first line of drugs is increasing efficacy. It is FDA approved drugs, but we widening the application. And you will see some presentation would be deeper. I will touch a little bit this stuff because deeper we have even today, Dr. Klein, we work with many years. He will make presentation, together we'll make presentation after this presentation about polymyxin. And we have few more presentation here. And this polymyxin, which is last resort for finding MDR, unfortunately does not work in many cases because MDR becomes so smart, multi-drug resistant bacteria. Metformin with reduced side effect. Very important drugs for diabetes, but not everybody can use it, unfortunately. We find a way how to make it more people can use. Anti-tuberculosis drug based on completed phagocytosis stimulants. Pharmaceutical composition to activate tissue regeneration by stimulate autologous stem cells growth. migration and differentiation. I just tell that stem cells we have studied at the beginning of 2000s. From our point of view, it was very important field in and now life shows that many people work with stem cells. I show you a little bit research about this. Strategy for development binary hemostatic gamma, we name it, on base self-assembly modified polysaccharides. New paradigm for finding IMDR. We also will present this, my presentation together with Dr. Klein. We have another person, Dr. Arthur Martinov. He is not with us right now. Okay, we make this presentation together, but he is co-author of this. Derivative benzimidazole components, the salts, complexes, etc., for using anti-geriatric actions, and creating new generation drugs with dynamic structure, as I mentioned. This is the first in the world dynamic drugs. The structure is changeable. Anti-cancer drug we use, dynamic antiviral, dynamic vaccine at the beginning, dynamic insulin, etc. And the third line is a line of new diagnostics. I want to tell that for all this project, I just made example of how we use TRIZ. So we just concentrate not on TRIZ itself, but on results to save time. Plus, many of this issue is we got patent and still patenting. We can tell not everything about this, right? For sure. And we can tell only what is what does not have too much extra know-how information. Okay, this is repurposing genetic drug, polymyxin. So this I told you, the last resort does not work too much right now. And we will make presentation about DIPA that I want to skip this today. After this presentation, you have polymyxin, I believe, according to schedule. So we'll explain this DIPA. And we save time. Okay. Only want to mention that everything we're doing here in company, we use everywhere we use mathematical or silical modeling. No research without this stuff. And when you use model for drug design, we use either SwissDoc or Yasara, FreeDoc or Hex6 with our modification. For instance, multi-ligand docking, we use our modification for this. Not exactly what we have. So the base of all this research is TRIZ mathematical modeling for sure. And again, polymyxin we'll show today. We discuss it today. Okay. Good. Metformin. On this presentation, will not tell about this, but I just tell you briefly that 30% of patient degree of complication are always getting worse with standard metformin. Even though this is great, many people, like 70%, can get great treatment for diabetes. In our case, we analyze why it happens. Okay. Okay. And based on this, we resolve this problem. And if we have time, we can go in this in depth. And it's part of this published already. You can see our publication in DOI.org, right? This big article which touching many of this. Creation of new medical drug based on TRIZ and computer mathematical modeling. In more details, you can definitely go through these published articles, right? And definitely we get it. Everything what we're doing here, we patent. Anti-tuberculosis. This is very important topic because for people now working for vaccines against anti-tuberculosis, but vaccine, I believe is impossible to send to solve this problem because of macrophages. So inside of macrophages, we have, using terminology, we have, if you see anatomy of this, let me see. Vaccine based on M. tuberculosis due to the lack of humoral immunity protection against infection and from the latent infection reactivation. But BCG, we name it BCG, replacing BCG by another less dangerous bacterium. What we're doing here, with the same properties of stimulation of cellular immunity and phagocytosis completion. And we may search for synthetic urease inhibitors and macrophage phagocytosis activators. If I show this couple slides, okay, what we have. Formyl phenylalanine, this one, cholecalciferol, difficult to pronounce this, vitamin D, right? If you study, if you combine this, you get synergies, right? And it helps you to phagocytes finish activator. And this is our example for urease inhibitors, result of activity. When we have quercetin with cholecalciferol, it's 0.65. And when you have a dipyron plus quercetin, it's even 0.78. So we enhance in this case, if you compare this ingredient separately, this sure you can see synergy. No comparison, right? Synergy. Effect of substances, similar, you can analyze this result, what we have. Okay. And this is a result, we found a way how to find we find tuberculosis with anti-tuberculosis drugs based on the completed phagocytosis stimulants. Okay. I will skip this. So we have many publications about this. We have IPs. The next project, pharmaceutical composition to activate tissue regeneration by stimulating autologous stem cells growth, migration, and differentiation. So human stem cells are responsible for health maintenance and longevity. Stem cells generated by bone marrow is present in every organ and human tissue. And this is classical. What is stem cells? Peripheral blood stem cells transplantation is standard procedure after its first successful transplantation more than 35 years ago. Most prospective studies recognize the stem cell function, the development of method for their isolation and harvesting, as well as the application of such development in medicine. This is classical. And you know, with age, amount of stem cells decreasing. The first I have studied stem cells is early 2000s. In 2006, we filed international patent, PCT. And this patent, what we did, well, basically, I'll tell you, we took stem cell from a person, it was auto stem cells. We put in special inducers and we input it back to the patient. And patient is injected with a cell preparation containing autologous stem of stroma of the bone marrow, combining both intravascular and local approaches, while combination of intravenous intraarterial, and endovascular method are used as intravascular one. Intramuscular, intrafascial, intraorgan, etc., method are used as a local combination. And after autotransplantation, local off-segment vibration exposure performed. When we did it, I'll show a few words. When its method is indicated for cardiology, neurology, we have orthopedics, surgery, etc., etc. Okay, this is a list where it can be applied, indicated. The growth of new capillaries, when we see from our Dopplers in new slides, with intramuscular injection of stromal cells is accompanied by the excitation of oscillations, the high frequency component of which improves the penetration of blood into capillaries, as well as a movement of blood inside the vessels, for example, arteries. Then has the first effects at the right device. This number, it's in our drawings, is applied. So actually, again, vibration. If you remember, in TRIZ, Genrikh Saulych mentioned vibrocapillary effects. When you put a capillary and try to get how high is a capillary can get this liquid using by Laplace formula. And if you apply vibration to this capillary, you see the liquid can move far higher than in regular condition, just using formula Laplace. When we work with this and we have difficulties with small capillaries, we apply this supercapillary effect for this. In cells, it helps us create, we use ultrasonic vibration, efficacy result was increased. So in this case, this is example. We can tell about this is history of epicrease of one patient, and he had difficulties with his vessels in this case, and he got his bone marrow stromal cells, and we have special inducers, and about 3 million induced his stem cells were injected intravenously, etc. And I show some graphs. Results: scan monitoring of vessels of the lower extremities. Different time we measure, weeks. Objective: the recanalizations of vessels from the upper to the lower section with complete restoration of the main blood flow. And microcirculation by 18 weeks. The size is a little bit difficult to read because I couldn't put entire pattern for this, but this is part of our pattern. The size of the wound surface during this period decreased by half. Doppler ultrasonography at 29 weeks shows stabilization of the effect obtained. The wound has decreased 3 times compared to its original size. To speed up the repair processes, on September 17, 2004, when we checked this patient, repeated transplantation was performed. Again, 2.5 million at 4 points of the lower leg and 2 points of the foot. Complete repair of the wound surface against the background of stable main blood flow was noted by 40 weeks. The patient was examined a year later. The condition is satisfactory, practically no complaints of the underlying disease. And a little bit examples. Okay, this we show vessels with stem cells. Okay, and our Dopplers in different time. I show the sound this. In this scan, popliteal artery the blood flow velocity is 45 centimeter per second with laminar flow, no turbulence, which in comparison with figure 4, you don't see this, indicated the stabilization of the effect of recanalization of the studied vessels. Recanalization is great topic for today, keeping in mind the first part of presentation. Recanalization of the affected vessel occurs when the restoration of laminar blood flow. Okay, and we make all this measurement. Okay, develop now. What is good? What is bad? In this particular case, first of all, equipment for inducers pretty expensive. Second of all, it takes time. Third of all, when you get bone marrow, it's painful, right? You have to cut it, take it from this, put an inducer, wait when it's done, put it back, etc. What we need to help more people in this case? So we use TRIZ again, and we thought the best inductor, ideal inductor, which you don't have, and person would be inductor. So we start working in another project, and we think about how to develop pharmaceutical composition to activate tissue regeneration, to develop low molecular weight compound that will imitate the action of growth factor. The compound to stimulate growth, migration, and differentiation autologous latent stem cells, LCC. The compound would possess regenerating, therapeutic effect in a variety of medical conditions. The compound to accelerate wounds, ulcers, healing, to accelerate post-surgical wounds and post-orthosurgery bone healing. To avoid expensive process of isolation, harvesting, and rejection of stem cells, I mentioned no inductors of this. Imagine a situation if, few more slides. Okay, using computer silica modeling, we study 28,000 generic drugs. Impossible to do without math and without silica modeling. Identified 332 substances and potentiators of autologous latent stem cells. Out of this, we selected 2 classes of substances of new composition. We name it like dipazole. Property: dipazole comprised of quinonose and imidazole classes. Dipazole, we don't say specifically, I can answer specifically, but we can using terminology of classes since we're still in patent phases. Dipazole increases regeneration and acceleration healing process of damaged tissue in vivo studies. Dipazole has minimal spectrum, local of systemic side effect on toxicity to host body. If you go to next slide, okay, our composition dipazole increase expression of growth factor and the rate of regeneration increasing 2 times. Okay, this is different tissue we have study, right? Skip it. Okay, we study influence of different composition of CD334 expression in cell culture stimulation of stem cell growth. Okay, and this we name it composition. We don't say specifically. And if you see this without composition, it's composition. Composition 1 is more efficient in this case. Okay, even compared to control of this one with control insulin. Reparative activity dipazole in rats. 6 days experiment. Control, use insulin. You know, insulin 1 is most powerful ingredient right now in our dipazole. Okay, and this the potential application of this, for instance, pressure ulcer statistics. See, we show how important this problem is, and especially it part of this market, 11 billion in hospital cost. Okay. And we study effect of pain inhibitors and effect of this.
You're running over time right now, but that's great because you got a tremendous presentation, a lot of very interesting information here. There's one question that came up from Victor Fay. In most of your examples, respective solutions were shown as a result of applying one or more TRIZ tools. What approach did you use to select tools most suitable for the challenge at hand?
You mean what? You mean what approach? Oh, this echo, yes.
What TRIZ tool did you use? How did you select the TRIZ tool for the current project at hand?
Easy. If you remember, I can go back of this, but I'm not sure if I'll find this slide. If you remember, I show roadmap at the beginning, right? In this roadmap, we go stage by stage, and each particular stage included specific tools. If you'd like, when I finish this, not to lose this point, I will go back to roadmap and show which tools we use in the particular stage. If I mentioned, and I mentioned at the beginning, for our research, we use classical tools. Practically, there is no tools from classical TRIZ. I mean, there is no tools from classical TRIZ which you do not use. Actually, at the beginning, if I return to the slide, easy, I can explain like basically. We don't use one tool, we use many tools for this. Let's say, but even if you get some, we solve this contradiction issue, right? In this case, we made trimming. After this, we use always mathematical modeling. Sometimes we do mathematical modeling before to understand the situation. So I can tell about one specific tool because we use all tools. SU analysis, everything. If you have questions, ask me more specific.
Yeah, Victor says thank you. Okay. Do you want to take a minute or two to wrap up, and then we get on to the next presentation?
Sorry?
Can you take a minute or two to wrap your presentation, and we can get on to the next one?
Yes. Okay. Okay. So I'll do faster. Time fly when you have fun. So this about next one. So this is echo. Here we have echo. We get patents for many of these results. Some of the process of patenting. And this is Dipazole. Next project, I believe we will Dr. Klein and myself, we make presentation today or tomorrow about binary hemostatic gamma, okay, for wound healing. Next project. Okay, this is, we compare what we have here in the market. Okay, new hemostatic, we explain in details together. Okay. Next, new paradigm for finding MDR. We also have presentation, I believe, today or tomorrow. We are given details. I told you about this problem with multi-drug resistant bacteria. Okay, I try to do it briefly like this. Okay, huge market of this. And the problem is all drugs for today, we have static, and bacteria more changeable than our medical field. That's why we decided to go we decided to go and create new kind of drugs. Okay, this is Ishikawa. Also, I show this, by the way, Victor, this is all tools we use here for not only bioengineering, we use also for medical tree with some adjustment for microbial environment. And this is course similar to what we have in bacteria rows, our famous crew. Okay, I make 2 new projects here. Okay, proof of concept. We discussed this in details with Dr. Klein with you. I apply this for person with, you also mentioned. I want to find one new class of this. Line 2. This is interesting. It's new generation drug with dynamic structure. All drugs for today is static. They have the same formula. In our case, all drugs are smart. They change their, they changeable. They dynamic drugs. So this, I just show what we use here. For instance, in this slide, degree of freedom or variability of drugs is much slower than degree of variability or changeability of any live organism. But in our case, when we created our dynamic drugs, field of variability much higher than living organism in this case. And this example, anti-cancer strategy. I just show how it worked briefly. Okay. We use tRNA. It's okay. We have more than 100,000 microRNA, and we use different. I show how it works. Oh, we have a very short this. We don't have all this animation. So this is compared to chemotherapy. This is a new dynamic drugs against of cancer, which let's use simple way, which fight only cancer cells. It works for all carcinomas, 85% of all drugs. Okay, look at this. They eat our drug and they shrink. See these cancer drugs, cancer cells? Figuratively. And this we studied different. We got a patent. 4 weeks ago, we got a patent for this, United States patent for finding cancer. Next, dynamic antiviral based on self-assembly modified peptides, also show briefly. Okay, how it works with alpha and beta importins. Okay. So this is how usually it goes to the genomic nuclear DNA. But when you use our drug, we name it, let's say Albovir. Actually, its name is CDC 240 so far. We don't have names so far. It's block alpha and beta importins. And they can go inside of nuclear. And this about it. Now, strategy dynamic vaccines we use. If you see, according to our technology, if you use vaccine using our technology, efficacy increased from 1,280 to almost 5 times, 4 times, to be more specifically. Dynamic insulin, also dynamic kind of drugs. Okay, line 3, diagnostic. We use diagnostic for cancer using our approach. Okay, if maybe it's okay, this is about next. We created new method which in process based on method Professor Gavala. We use BCMM method and together with Dr. Evgeny Skobeltsyn. we can buy blood of drop of blood and stem cell, blood of and drop of blood, and we can tell if the person has cancer or not. If not, how close he is, what is localization, and how advanced is disease, and how strong is defense. And this PCMM, a special robotic microscope using by our algorithm, recognize lymphocytes, measure different area of nuclear to cell of lymphocytes. We use the regression lines, again, mathematical modeling, and we can tell, compare this curve, answering all these 4 questions. And also, if you look at this graph, morphology, if you look at this graph, you don't have it, right? I don't have this graph. Oh, we also applied for international PCT. This one is beginning of 2000s. That's it. Okay. Now this department of, I like this joke. You know how it happens, word for word, and it took more than 1 hour, right? Logic. Acknowledgement. We appreciate, I work not alone. We have great team. And the research is a result of creative, dedicating, enthusiastic efforts of Noigel science team, colleagues and partners. We thank our colleagues, definitely Genrich Altshuller for all these ideas. I have been consulting team all life, Dr. Artur Martinov, Dr. Ilya Klein, etc., Dr. Boris Lotin, Ilya Gonta, etc., etc. All of them were great impact. Okay, and this about it. Optimistic vision in future. TRIZ in medicine. Okay, I believe I finished. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
It was a very complete and fascinating area where trees can be applied that probably many people have not thought about it.
Very
But,
difficult. What you say?
but all areas are viable as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. 46 1 hour. Yes.
Okay.